with the latest on the corporate front, all the market trends, expert opinion, and sound business advice. It is your unique window into the business world, direct from the heart of China.
Hello and welcome to Biz Today. I'm Zhao Yang in Beijing. China has recently held the Boao Forum for Asia and the China Development Forum. The two major forums highlight China's commitment to openness and global collaboration, integrating foreign enterprises into its economic growth. Premier Li Qiang made a keynote speech at the opening ceremony of the China Development Forum in Beijing. He said China will continue to welcome enterprises from around the world, further expand market access, and facilitate the deeper integration of foreign enterprises into the Chinese market. The premier added that China will safeguard free trade and contribute to the stable operation of global supply chains. He said more proactive fiscal policies will help the country achieve a growth target of around 5% for the year 2025. So what message does China send? And why does China's economic trajectory continue to draw global attention? For more on this, join us on the line now are Li Lun, Assistant Professor from Peking University School of Economics, Dr. Zhou Mi, Senior Research Fellow at the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation, and also Yan Liang, Professor of Economics, Willamette University. So, Dr. Zhou Mi, I will start with you. What are something new from this year's China Development Forum and Boao Forum? What's the message sent?
Well, we know that for this time, I think it's a very important time of the year of 2025. The world is under challenges. So we are seeing there are so many uncertainties in the world. So the world is expecting what China can provide for the world, especially for the foreign direct investors. And the foreign direct investment in China is always a very important element in China's economy. So I think that this time, Premier Li Qiang has mentioned that China will continue with our policies. The attitude will not change. We will open our market and also trying to give the better support for the companies who are coming here. But I think that is something different compared with previous years, that we are not just trying to have these investors from other countries, but also trying to make them to be better integrated in China's economy. I think that, the world is changing so rapidly, and we are seeing that artificial intelligence and other technology are reshaping the world structure and trying to improve a better support or different sectors and stakeholders. So for China, we are open our market and keep a very sustainable way, and we want to hear some of the advices from the foreign investors if they want to give some suggestion. I think all these things are welcome. So we are trying to, also propose the plans for attracting more FDIs from other countries after the two sessions this year. So I think that messages are very clear that in such an uncertain world, China will keep its promises as an open market and trying to be better open and give more freedom to the investors from all around the world, no matter from the developed economies or from the developing countries.
And so at this year's China Development Forum, Premier Li Qiang said China will further expand the market access for foreign investors. So how do you explain his message? And how important is this policy consistency of opening up for the multinational companies and global investors, especially at this moment?
Right. So I think consistency is really the key word. That China has been always steadfast and very consistent in welcoming enterprises from around the world and further expand market access. Now there's no market restrictions for foreign direct investments into the manufacturing sector. And China is going to open in an orderly manner some of the service sector like telecommunication, health, and education. So I think that further expansion of market access is going to be a big attraction for these foreign investors. Li Qiang also mentioned that the government is going to actively address concerns of businesses, for example, the intellectual property rights protection, and also facilitate deeper integration of the foreign funded enterprises into the Chinese market. So I think all these strike the right chords and really speak to the common interest of a lot of these foreign investors, are ranging from a wide range of sectors, from pharmaceuticals to tech to auto to consumers, luxuries, and so on and so forth. So I think we know that the world has been really uncertain at this point, largely due to Donald Trump's policies, right? The tariff policy on and off, on and off. And he just announced that there will be another 25% of tariffs on the imported automobiles into the United States, regardless of where those autos come from. So I think a lot of these policy announcements are very ill thought out. They're on and off, and they are also targeting a wide range of countries, regardless of whether they are, part of the U.S.'s so-called rivalries or they're friends, right, and allies. So I think that really, in a way, undermined the global trading system, and also really dampened global businesses' sentiment and consumer sentiment as well. So we know for a lot of these foreign investors, especially their direct investors, they're looking for long-term investments, right? They're not like those Wall Street portfolio investors. They take advantage of market volatility and profit from that. For these long-term investors, they want to have stable, transparent, and constructive environment so that they can do business. So I think, Li Qiang's message and also this forum, which, by the way, China started to do this back in 2000. So it really shows the consistency that China has when it comes to, embrace multilateral system, and now even going to for opening by, again, expanding market access, providing visa-free policies, streamline, investment policies, and so on and so forth.
And Li Luan, so China shows its welcome for foreign investments from business worldwide. So what do you think is the role of foreign investment in Chinese economy today?
Foreign investors have played and will continue to play a crucial role in China's development and economic landscape. So they not only bring capital and money to the economy, they also bring the cutting edge technology and also the best practices in terms of management and human resource and so on. And these things can all bring innovation in our domestic industries. And often, the way foreign enterprises, invest in China is they collaborate with Chinese partners in terms of research and development. They also, do like R&D, like in areas such like, biotech, AI, and manufacturing. And also they bring jobs, which also boost household income and also, stimulates consumption. A good example recently is the investment by AstraZeneca, which is a pharmaceutical company, and it's investing $2.5 billion in Beijing. So this global pharmaceutical company is establishing a new R&D center, and basically is creating a high standard industrial project in Beijing's economic development zone. So this basically shows how much confidence that the firm have in China's ecosystem, but it also shows that it can also attract similar investments that can further foster the cooperation in research institutions, in local hospitals, and also enhance China's reputation as a global innovation hub for biotech. In simple terms, what I want to say is that foreign investors don't simply just add money to the system. They also bring new technology and also help accelerate China's transformation into a innovation center for global business.
So what are foreign investors seeking in China today? Is that the huge market, the complete supply chain? What do you think are attracting them? And is there anything new from years ago?
Well, that's an excellent question. I think it's all the above plus. So you're right, China is a huge market. We know that, Chinese population is 1.4 billion, with over 400 million strong middle class who are really having income growth steadily over the years, and they desire, right, the wide range of high quality products, ranging from physical goods to services. So I think foreign companies wanted to do business in China because this market share is just too lucrative to not to be part of it. But also, I think, in addition to these market-seeking enterprises, we also have the so-called efficiency-seeking foreign investors. So they're coming here to utilize China's very complete and robust industrial supply chain. So there are over 200 mature industrial clusters in China. Many people said If you wanted to develop a new product prototype, if you go elsewhere, it takes months. In China, in Shenzhen, you can develop a new product prototype as short as weeks. So I think the kinds of formidable manufacturing capacity and the very complete and competent supply chain is going to attract a lot of efficiency-seeking enterprises. Now, of course, with China's wages rising and some of the resources costs rising, some companies are also moving their production site elsewhere. So with the sort of China plus one, to cope also with the rising geopolitical tension. But that said, I think China still remains a very important node of the global supply chain. As a matter of fact, China accounts for about 16% of the global intermediate goods trade. So this is higher than the second place of the United States, which accounts for 15%. So all this just to say that, China is sort of indispensable if you want to have large scale, reliable, high quality, low cost of manufacturing. And last but not the least, I think you asked something new. I think the new thing is that China's technological innovation, the technological ecosystem, I think that is really developing very rapidly, and China is, leading in many of the critical technologies. For example, the Bloomberg has done the report out of the 13 critical technologies that China strive to develop self-sufficiency. China is leading in 5 of them. It's catching up in 7 of those technologies, and it's only lacking in the commercial aircraft. So what that means is that I think Li Lun just mentioned, these pharmaceutical companies, they're coming to China to build R&D center. Apple and some other, EV companies, they're also coming to China to partake in that R&D ecosystem, in the technological innovation system, right? Not to mention AI. So I think that is new, that China is now becoming so important in the technological advancement, in the technological development ecosystem, that foreign companies do not want to miss out on that as well.
And Dr. Zhou Mi, so China's central government issued an action plan to stabilize the foreign investment in February. So how do you think these measures have influenced the decision-making of the international investors who are looking to enter or expand in this market?
Well, first of all, I think that has sent a very important message to the market that Chinese government is trying to fulfill our commitments as opening our market. I think that if we're looking at the attitudes of many countries in the recent years, some countries are publishing some new restrictive policies, like they limit the investment areas, sectors, or the kind of the forms of investment. And they just trying to make some of the sectors so sensitive, and they want to exclude other countries or other partners to be involved in these sectors. But for China, we are just doing the opposite. We are trying to open the market. We are give very clear signals and also the clear policies and regulations. We make the enterprises know what they will face if they come here to invest in the different sectors. And second, I think that is also helpful for us to know that investment is not just a one-shot activity. It is a little bit long, more than several months or even 1 year's investment. So they have to be prepared for the future. They have to consider about the returns in the coming years or coming terms. So for China, we are continue to expand our domestic market, trying to be better, to integrate the different parts of China and have a much more diversified demand in China. And that is very helpful to attracting not only the companies from the developed economies, but from a lot of belt and road regions. They can come here to benefit from the development of China's domestic market. Well, the third one is that China is also trying to give some experiment areas like the free trade zones or free port in Hainan. And I think that is also helpful for us to do more experiment, because many of these sectors, many of these areas are some places where no countries have even touched. So the rules are, not there and not existing, and the standards and also some kind of relation or even risks are not exposed. So we are trying to give some rights to the local areas to have them to do some experiment, and the investors from other countries can come here to cooperate with Chinese local ones to do more in the most innovative ways. So I think this kind of measurement are real clear that China is not only a big market, but also an open market. And it is a very innovative way for all the different stakeholders to try to cooperate in the different methods. And that is very helpful for attracting the companies from the SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, to some of the multinational corporation with a very important one. And they come here. They are trying to be better integrated in China's development.
As you mentioned, we continue to open the market. And also in his speech, Chinese Premier Li Qiang also urged the international businesses to resist protectionism. He warned that decoupling and breaking the supply chains would only deepen the crisis. And many global business leaders voiced concerns over the protectionist U.S. tariff and trade measures. So with regard to this kind of concern of those multinational companies, Dr. Zhou Mi, do you think China can address this concern or mitigate the negative impacts by moving to further open up the Chinese economy?
Well, in my understanding that China is a super large market. Maybe we are not the most developed market, but we have enough space to improve the consumption levels and also, the cooperation by the manufacturing and services. So I think that China's practices is very important, as we can find that unilateral opening up is one of the policies that we are going to give to the world. We are going to make an example that such a big country, we can still keep on our promises of opening up. And we are trying to give some of good examples of cooperating with other companies, other stakeholders in the industrial chains and the supply chains. And that is helpful for us, other countries, also to trying to understand that the openness and the connections will be good for them. And second, I believe that China's practices under the multilateral system of WTO is very consistent. And we have also a lot of companies, other countries who have the similar ideas of trying to respect the multilateral system. And in that system, I think that we are not only trying to fulfill our commitments in the previous agreements on the WTO agreement, but also trying to do more. Like we have finished or accomplished several joint initiatives in WTO to do with e-commerce and investment facilitation and other issues. I think that is helpful for us to trying to discuss about the possible development of the new agreements or new rule in the international ways. And the third one, I think, is also important because China have raised the Belt and Road Initiative, and that has already accepted so many, joined by other partners and countries and even international organizations. So we can do more to expand the area of openness and trying to be more standardized the ways of doing business. And that is really helpful to those companies who want to join China's development, and we will promote better and new international rules or practices.
So Yan, the Chinese premier, also called on global executives to seize opportunities in China's huge consumer market, momentum in innovation, and booming green economy. So what do you think are opportunities in these sectors?
Well, I think as we know that China is really playing a leading role in terms of the green energy, right, when it comes to green economy transition. So I think that presents a lot of opportunities, both in terms of the market demand. China is putting on, over half of the global renewable energies, and China's developing very quickly the energy storage solutions. And so I think that serves really a catalyst for a lot of the investments into that sector. At the same time, I think, again, China has been really producing a lot of these green tech, green products, be it solar panels, wind turbines, or when it comes to, EVs, for example. So I think, China has really mature technologies in many of these productions. And China is also very indispensable in the global supply chain when it comes to these green technologies and green products. So I think that remains, again, very attractive for foreign investors. If they wanted to produce EVs or they want to produce batteries, I think China presents a really great opportunity for them to come here to open the factories and form joint ventures and work with the Chinese suppliers. But also, I think, again, in terms of the technologies, so it's an important place for companies to come in and build their R&D centers to learn from the Chinese companies when it comes to technologies, right? So China again is leading in these battery technologies, EVs, and solar panels, and so on and so forth. So I think in terms of the green economy, China really demonstrates that to have the green transition, it's not a cost for economic development and economic prosperity. As a matter of fact, the green transition presents tremendous opportunities when it comes to market demand, when it comes to technological innovations. So I think, China really serves a model for the rest of the world, and especially multinational corporations. If they wanted to partake in that future economy, they would need to be part of the, Chinese green economy and come to China and invest here. And same thing, I think they should also welcome China's foreign investments abroad, again, to partake in this sort of technological developments and also the production upscaling.
And Li Lun, so mentioned technology, and starting this year, many international investors are eyeing Chinese assets for equity investments, upgraded the outlook for China's assets. So why is it, and why the foreign investors are paying increasing attention on China's technology stocks?
So I think foreign investors are increasingly attracted to China's equity market. That is especially driven by the technology improvement due to the track record in innovation. For example, we have seen for example, Unitree in terms of the humanoid robot, in terms of, for example, the EV, the recent blockbuster car, Xiaomi Suqi Ultra. These are all providing evidence that China's tech sector has been evolved from merely catching up to actually leading in a lot of the areas in global R&D sector. So and also I think in previous times when foreign investors look at Chinese companies, they always think they're low cost production, or we're just trying to find a factory to manufacture our brand. But right now, Chinese companies are becoming the leader or the drivers in their own right, with their own very robust R&D capacities, and also making breakthroughs like Professor Liang have said, like in battery, in AI, in biotech, in green energy, and so on. So also, I think these are reasons why foreign investors are paying more attention for Chinese assets. Another factor is valuation, right? So China's stock market is currently really undervalued in terms of the PE ratio. If you compare similar companies with their U.S. counterparts, I think it's offering very attractive investment opportunities, especially for the long-term investors. So I think this undervalued situation, combined with a strong domestic market and a robust R&D sector, kind of explains why Chinese tech stocks are becoming more and more attractive for foreign investors, especially if they're looking for long-term growth at a very reasonable price.
So, how do you think can China boost its attractiveness in the eyes of equity investors, especially those long-term equity investors or patient capitals?
Right, I think that's a great question. So I agree with Li Lun. So we're seeing the market rally these days in the Chinese A-share, but also in Hong Kong. And largely, it's boosted by the AI revolution in China. But I think it's not just the short-term investments that is flowing in. We're also seeing companies are projecting, for example, Goldman Sachs have been talking about with the AI integration to the rest of the economy, China's public listed companies is projected to increase their earning per share by 2.5% every year in the next decade. So this is really the long-term benefits from this AI revolution, but also integration. So I think this really sets China apart from the Western economies, especially like in the United States, where they did achieve some AI breakthrough, but it's very expensive and it's very exclusive. It's not going to be able to really quickly apply to the rest of the economy. Whereas China, this is very cost effective. When you look at OpenAI last year, their operating expense was $7 billion. China's DeepSeek was about 2% of that. And so I think, Li Qiang has interviewed with Bloomberg and basically saying that, Oman is probably not going to sleep well having a very, competitive rivalry like the DeepSeek. So I think this very cost-effective and open source AI is going to be integrated in the rest of the economy, be it advanced manufacturing or advanced services. And so that is going to really generate a lot more, cash flows and earnings for the companies, but also boost the macro economy, right, when it comes to productivity growth. So I think that's why long-term investors are going to return. Now, that said, China today's market is a lot more complex and also much, much more evolving than in the past. So the competition is really fierce, almost sort of cutthroat. So I think foreign investors would have to think about what sectors they want to participate in, what advantages they have, how to partner with the Chinese businesses, and what are really their advantages that they can bring to the Chinese market. So it's not an easy task. It's not a sort of very easy money to make in the sense. So I think it will take some time for the foreign investors to really re-anchor themselves and recalibrate their market competitiveness. But again, China's long-term prospect, I think when it comes to technological innovations, when it comes to continuous economic development and also green transition, I think the prospect is very positive. And so I think that would help to really attract foreign investors, especially when the rest of the world is facing so much uncertainty and precarity.
Well, we're speaking with Yan Liang, Professor of Economics, Willamette University, Li Lun, Assistant Professor from Peking University School of Economics, and also Dr. Zhou Mi, Senior Research Fellow with the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation. And that's all the time we have for this edition of Biz Today. I'm Zhao Yang in Beijing. Thank you so much for listening.